You gonna take it for a ride? No? You wanna take it for a ride? No? It's too icky out? Is it too rainy? Alright, buddy. It's gloomy, crappy, shitty afternoon. I'm gonna run you through chain cleaning, chain lubrication, and chain tightening. So what we need for this very easy maintenance project is a toothbrush, an old toothbrush. This one, you can tell it's already been used, so a toothbrush, that's it. I'm not going to use any specialty wrenches, not that regular SAE or metric wrenches are special, but everyone should have an adjustable wrench or two. That's easy. So we're just going to use adjustable wrenches, not even going to break out the 1/2 inch or 10 millimeter or whatever we need. These are easy. Should always have 1 or 2 of these in your kit. Some old paint can tops. We're going to need 2 of those. Now, if you have it, I would use brake parts cleaner over gasoline. But if you don't have it, you don't really want to go out and find it or spend the money on it. Any parts store, Walmart, any big box store is going to have that. And it's handy to clean your clutch with. And you can also use it to clean your chain with. You could just spray it. And I'll show you that in a second. And you can use the brush, or if you don't have that, or you don't have access to that, just use a little bit of gasoline. We got a little paint can, spray paint top. Spray paint top. We got a spray paint top. Okay, so yeah, we'll put a little gas in one. Then we've got one to hold a little bit of the waste oil. We're not going to waste brand new fresh oil on that. If we change the oil frequently on our Wasteland rig, the oil that's coming out will be perfectly fine for the task at hand. If it's fairly clean in a fairly clean jug, you can skip this next step I'm going to show you. But if you're not sure, or it's pretty black, or you think it might have some crap in it, simply cut a rag and line a funnel. We're going to pour the waste oil in here. It's going to lightly filter out any little particulates, and we don't need a lot. We're just going to fill one of these spray paint top cans up about halfway. What we don't use, we'll just pour back in our waste oil jug. And then we need some rags. We still got oil in there. I'm going to go ahead and put that right back into the waste oil jug and let that filter back in there. That should be enough for what we need. Gasoline. A little guzzolene. A little guzzolene for the purposes of cleaning our chain. Alright, so what we're going to do is we got our mini bike up on a block so that the rear wheel can spin freely. Alright, so if you're going to use, you don't want to use gas, you're going to use some brake parts cleaner. What you're simply going to do, I'm just going to gently spray. Of course, this is going to be tough to do one-handed, and you're going to wipe the chain off. Just like that, and you're just going to keep going. So let's see, I can't really do it two-handed here. Alright, now I don't particularly want to just waste my brake parts cleaner doing this. So that's why I've got the guzzolene. A little bit of guzzolene on there. Try not to spill it. Now this is the easiest spot to access this chain. Realistically, if you can find a spot where you have a little better access, like pulling these guards, which probably won't have them on Wasteland rigs anyways, if you can find a spot where you can access both sides, top and bottom. Clean. Again, you don't need to get super technical with it. Just get most of the grime off there. It's going to get grime right back on it. But what we're doing is going to help extend the life of our chain, make the whole system run a little smoother. So we're going to set our guzzolene aside. We don't need that. Stay hydrated. And we're going to grab our oil. It's going to be our lubrication. And then we're just gonna apply it over the chain like this until we see that the whole chain appears to be mostly coated. Is this gonna fling oil? Yeah, it's gonna fling oil. But this is just gonna get just enough lubrication into these chains. So you see these chains, each one of these is a roller. So there's a pin that runs through. You can see the pin there, and on that pin is the roller. So if grime gets in that roller, it wears it out quicker. We're not going to get all the grime out doing what we're doing here, but we're going to help add a little bit of lubrication. Even if just a little bit sinks in there and touches the edges of that roller, we're going to be better off. It's going to help the whole chain run smoother. It's also going to keep it from rusting up on us real quick. If you let the chain get rusty, because maybe you got a stainless steel chain, I don't know, but these are not stainless steel chains. These are straight steel. These will rust if you don't add a little maintenance. And what happens when your chain rusts, it starts to seize up. So a chain needs to move. It needs to move around the sprocket. The rollers need to move. We're not going to fill the inside of each roller with oil doing what we're doing, but we're going to get just enough on there to help the chain long term from rusting up. I don't do that all this often. I guess if I used it a lot, I'd probably do it a couple times a year. I'd look at the chain. How dirty does the chain look? How dry does the chain look? How much grime is on it? Is it starting to look a little rusty? That's how you clean and lubricate the chain when it's on the rig. Okay, so this mini bike has rear wheel adjusters, and it's got a spring tensioner right here. So the spring tensioner mostly keeps the chain tight. But what if this spring tensioner is running out of spring and the chain's starting to get a little loose? That's when we're going to want to adjust our rear adjusters. So by doing that, it's pulling the rear wheel this direction, pulling it away from the motor, stretching out that chain, tightening that chain, and it'll give tension back onto this spring tensioner. So if you've got rear wheel adjusters like this, the first thing you need to do is loosen the rear axle. You can crank on these all you want. It's not going to move it because this rear axle is tightened onto the rear swing arm. So I've only got little tiny adjustable wrenches here. If you've got wrenches that fit, I suggest you use the wrenches that fit. I'm doing this as an example. So we're going to take and we're going to put a wrench on the other side to hold it. So righty tighty, lefty loosey. Okay, so we've loosened this up. We don't need to take it off. See there, it's loose. It's loose enough that that axle is going to move with this adjustment. One thing to remember that's very important with the rear axle adjustments is that you adjust these, both sides, the left and right, equal amounts. So if you go a half turn on this, go a half turn on that. You can verify they're the same by measuring the amount of thread that's sticking out here, or measuring from the measuring from the center of your axle nut to a similar point on your adjuster for both sides. So this isn't really out of adjustment. We're just going to adjust it a little bit. So we're going to go a half turn on this one. We're going to go a half turn on this one. Let's see, what do we got? What do we got here? Yeah, our chain is pretty tight. You know what? I'll go another half turn. All right. So that's all we're going to adjust it. Now we can look right here and see. Yeah, they're pretty darn close. Or you can take a measuring tape, like I said, and you can measure to make sure they're equal. That aligns your rear wheel, your rear axle, that makes sure it's going straight with the rear swing arm. So there we have it. Our chain is plenty tight enough there. So we're going to retighten our rear axle nut. You wouldn't really want to mess with adjustable wrenches. You'd have to do a lot of fiddling to get what I'm going to show you done with adjustable wrenches. So my trike here, I know it has 1/2-inch bolts and nuts that hold the motor. So this doesn't have a rear axle adjustment. This doesn't have any type of automatic little chain spring tensioner thing like that mini bike does. So this chain tension or tautness, this relies solely on the adjustment of the motor mounts. The motor mount on the frame has slotted holes that allow the motor to move backwards and forwards. What it does is that loosens the chain or tightens the chain. On these Predators, you've got 4. You got 2 in the front, then you've got 2 in the rear. So you loosen all those up. You don't need to loosen them up so that they fall out. You just need to loosen them up so the motor can wiggle a little bit back and forth. I'm not actually going to loosen these up because this chain is tight enough. That's pretty good where it is for this specific little rig. Bring it over here to the death cart. It's very similar to the trike. This doesn't have any rear axle adjustment on the frame. It doesn't have any automatic type of tensioner. It simply has adjustable or slotted motor mounts that allow the motor to go backwards, allow it to go forward. Loosen the chain, tighten the chain. So very much like the trike, you loosen the 4 motor mount bolts and nuts, loosen it enough so the engine can wiggle on those motor mounts. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull the engine ahead until that chain tightens up to about like that. That chain is really good right there. So again, I'm not going to adjust or mess with this one. So while you're moving the engine ahead, as you start to snug it down, you're going to want to check and make sure that everything's lined up. You want this sprocket to be running the same direction. You want it to run parallel, as close as you can get it to the rear sprocket. Because if you get your engine canted or twisted a little bit here, you're going to run into some problems. So again, you want that lined up. The same thing exists on the trike. You want those lined up. Now see, these centrifugal clutches allow for a little bit of play there, so you can have a little deviation in and out, but you want to get that as square as possible. You want that motor square so the sprocket is square with the rear sprocket. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully this tutorial will help out a few fellow Wastelanders in maintaining their Wasteland rig, be it a mini bike, a death car, heck, a trike, whatever it may be. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of knowledge how to do some things on your own. But maybe there's someone out there who's trying to get stuff done on their own. They're trying to figure this out. So I hope this helps a few of you out. At the very least, you can get your chain cleaned up, you can get it lubed up, you can get it tightened without pulling everything apart. What are you doing? What are you doing out here in the misty, rainy, crappy weather? I'm just talking aimlessly to a camera right now. Hi, camera. How you doing, camera?